Okay, Jeff here. I'm back. Like I said in my last video, which was probably just a few minutes ago, I'm trying to, or sometime earlier, I'm trying to do a bunch of videos in a row. Got a couple contests and things that I want to get done. Had a break in time with all the side work I've been doing, so I want to get that done real quick. Anyway, this one goes out to Vinylverse, the 300 subscription contest, which I see now they're up to, it goes already up to 380 something. So anyway, it's working. Keep going. It's growing. Anyway, he wants to see through the years. He wants to see 4 albums from 4 significant times in life. And so I went through and looked. Of course, there's a lot of significance in life. But hey, let's go back and do some of the ones that I guess lots of other people are doing. I couldn't go back so far as my birth. I don't think I have any albums from that year. Anyway, so I jumped forward. And I'm going to be, first I'm going to say the first pivotal time is going to be my first time going to a rock concert, going to a concert of a band I want to see. Now I remember as a kid my dad took me to see Rory Clark and some people like that. I probably went to some of those type of shows, but the first show that I went to as a teen, I think I was about 13, that I went to and that I enjoyed and wanted to see. So that would have been 1979, my first rock concert as a child of 13 years of age. I went and saw Kiss on the Dynasty Tour in the Hampton Coliseum, Virginia area. Kiss Dynasty Tour, and it was my first concert. 1979, at a ripe age of 13. A couple years later, I graduated from high school in 1984. This was hot on the turntable at the time. Helix, one of my favorite bands. I had discovered them in the album before this. So basically the first 2 albums which were a little different style. They were kind of off the radar, but when this album came out, this was the second one that we were really getting into. They were starting to get big on MTV and stuff, and so this album I played to death. Later, after I graduated, I went in the military, and later in the year, early 85ish, I'm thinking it was still this tour, but it might have been the Long Way to Heaven tour. I got to see them in concert. That was great. That was the first and only time I saw them in concert. Graduation 1984. 2 years later I got married, 1986, and this album was Burning Up the Turntable, Barren Cross Rock for the King. Late 85, I basically, as mentioned in a long time ago video, my history a little bit. In 1985 I kind of got my act straight, wanted to get back with my walk with the Lord. I grew up in the church, but so I changed and started listening to just Christian music, Christian metal, for the most part Christian rock. And this was one of the early bands that was in the Christian metal category. And so this was now my wife and I loved, and we played this all the time around the year that we got married in 86. There were only a couple bands. Stryper, of course I could have picked Stryper, but hey, everybody knows Stryper. Barren Cross, just one of the pivotal bands in the early days. A lot of people compare the singer Mike Lee, hey, he sounds a lot like Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden, so these guys are kind of like the Christian Iron Maiden as far as sound. And they went on to do a lot of great albums. Some were 10 or 12. Now, they're a California band, and I'm from the East Coast. Never been to California, never been to the West Coast. But had the privilege in somewhere in the 2000s, 2005-ish, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years, 12 years ago or so. I was helping to do web work for another singer from another pivotal Christian band of the 80s, Josh Kramer of Saint. He in turn, I think this is how it happened. He in turn told Mike Lee of Barren Cross, who was at the time doing solo work, about that I was helping him do a website. And ever since then, I've kind of been maintenance on Michael. He's now Michael Drive, but Mike Lee of Barren Cross. I'm basically his webmaster now. He hasn't done a lot on his website in a couple years now, but for a long time there was a lot of communication stuff. So was so blessed. Never met the man, but blessed to spend a lot of time on the phone with him in the past 10 years, helping with website stuff, talking. Was really impressed. One day he called me and said, hey, I'm having my 50th birthday party in whatever, couple weeks from now, but love you, have you come out. I'm like, yeah, there's no way for me to get to California. Anyway, sorry. But that was great. Just nice to know these people, and great bunch of guys. Anyway, so that was 1986, the year I got married. Next pivotal year is only a couple years later, 1991. 5 years later, me and my wife had the first of 6 children. My son Jonathan, who is no longer with us, And that was the year. Okay, sorry. The second Tourniquet album was tearing up my board at the time. Love Tourniquet. First album was great. Second album was blowing me away. So 91, this was being played a lot. And of course, I could have pulled Striper on this one too, because Striper's Against the Law, another hot album from 1991, was also just a high favorite of mine. But this one played to death. Tourniquet is another Christian thrash type band. The first album, a lot of people say the vocalist sounds or mimics King Diamond. At the time, I'd never heard of King Diamond. Heard of him because I knew who Merciful Fate was. Never heard him. Didn't know about the whole falsetto thing. But on the first Tourniquet album, the singer sang a lot of falsetto. In hindsight, years later, I go back and compare to King Diamond and say, okay, I can see the resemblance. He got such flack with that, though, oddly, that on this album he didn't do that. And I like that. It was cool. But on this album, he doesn't do it. This album, singer Gary Lanier and guitar player Gary Lanier also did a lot of singing. So you've got that dual vocals back in '91 where he, Guy Ritter did kind of straightforward, kind of quirky singing, and then Gary did the kind of the barking, shouting stuff. So it's kind of of the thrash genre. So those would be my 4 pivotal points. And yes, I'm going to throw out there the Odessa idea. I would like to acquire the Odessa vinyl. I don't have any early Bee Gees vinyl yet. A couple months ago I saw at a Goodwill. I kicked myself for not buying it, but it was one of the early ones. Like it was like, I don't know, second or third album. I should have bought that, but anyway, I didn't, like a dummy. So yeah, Odessa, I'd like to be counted in for that secondary contest. Anyway, so that's it for me through the years. 4 vinyls, 4 albums there. Anyway, thanks for watching, and rock on.